Why do we love the Joseph Stalin III? The IS-3 is a 1944 heavy tank made by the Soviet Army. It has a 122mm D-25T gun, capable of penetrating the heaviest of tanks frontally from that time. It is from the Joseph Stalin series, who had two other non-prototype tanks before it, creatively named the Joseph Stalin 1 and 2. It had incredibly thick armor, able to stop the strongest of German guns, which at the time were the best in the world. Cons. The IS-3 was a heavy tank, although it only weighed 45 metric tons. This made logistic lines easier to run, although the weight comes at a cost. It made the interior of the tank incredibly cramped, although that was standard of Soviet tanks in general. This meant that the reload of the gun would be around 2 rounds a minute, but under pressure it would jump to 3. On paper, the tank was very good for a 1944 design, although in real life, kind of a struggle. The engine was not the most reliable, and the welds were not strong at all. There were multiple times through an IS-3 service span where it would need a complete rebuild as it falls apart at the weld. That is usually a bad thing for tanks, as history shows that tanks that aren't the shiniest or the strongest, but the most reliable, are the most successful ones. Pros. There are a lot of pros in the IS-3. It had an incredible 122mm D-25T gun that was very powerful at the time. The armor was very thick as well. It could withstand the Tiger II's main gun at all ranges frontally. It never saw combat during World War II, so it was technically a Cold War heavy tank, but it was prototypes during 1944. The main pro of this tank was during the Berlin Victory Parade. The armor was so good at the time, it scared the Americans and the British into making incredibly powerful tanks to counter it, as the end of World War II, Soviet and Allied forces were falling out. The British made things like the FV4005 that had the largest tank gun ever fitted to a tank, and the FV4004 Conway, finalizing into the Conqueror heavy tank with a 120mm that was incredibly high velocity. The Americans made the M103, built to withstand a direct hit from the D-25T gun and fire back with a short kill 120mm. Service history. The IS-3 was not the most successful tank in service, being too late for World War II, but it did see some combat in the Soviet invasion of Hungary and the Six-Day War. The IS-3 kind of fell over whilst being used in the invasion of Hungary, as most tanks do in an urban environment. I will say that it did do some successful things, but tanks are known to be very ineffective in an urban environment. Molotov cocktails were dropped onto the engine decks of the IS-3s, killing the crews and disabling the engines. In the Six-Day War, they were modernized to IS-3M models, which increased reliability and gave it a slight armor upgrade to the front hull. It was very useful for dealing with Israeli infantry, who had great trouble dealing with it as the armor was thick enough to deal with bazookas. The M48 pattern's 90mm tank gun's armor-piercing round could not frontally penetrate the tank at normal engagement ranges, whilst the 122mm gun could fairly easily penetrate the M48. So why do we love the IS-3? The IS-3 was a very good tank for its time, whilst it suffers from reliability issues and a longer reload for its main gun. In a multi-tank engagement or in an urban environment, it was significantly worse than other Western designs of the time, as the turret traverse and the reload was a death sentence. The armor was very good, being able to resist the American 90mm and almost every World War II anti-tank gun. I personally love this vehicle as it caused very funny prototypes from America and Great Britain because the armor was very good. It was always falling apart from the welds, however, it was significant because it caused lots of great prototypes.